1. In high school, during the late 90s, I was a server at a pizza chain with a red roof. At this time, this place had dine-in service. We had a GM, Ray. Ray was a nice guy, but he was better on the business financial side of the restaurant than managing employees. People generally got their work done, but in retrospect, everybody that worked under him was young, and we probably didn't give him the respect he was due. Eventually, Barb showed up. She was an assistant manager from a nearby store that closed. Barb wasn't like Ray. It was like she was hired to come in and crack a whip over all of us. Never a please or thank you or anything. Forget, if you have time to lean, you have time to clean. If you have time to lean, you have time to clean out the walk-in fridge and rinse it from floor to ceiling. On Fridays and Saturdays, the restaurant didn't close till 1 a.m. These were generally the busiest nights. However, I was 16 or 17 at the time, and I walked to and from work. My parents said that under no circumstances did they want me working past 11 p.m. They didn't want me walking home after 1 a.m. and risking being hit by a drunk driver or some other idiot out at those hours. I had already been attacked by a homeless person one Friday night that year. This limitation was written into my file by Ray. We had several other teen servers with similar scheduling limitations, but it was usually okay. Things started dying down at 11, and the adult servers were happy to take all the late tips themselves. One Friday, it's 9:45, and we're still swamped. Mean old Barb is managing. My tables are mostly wrapping up, so I inform Barb I need to come off the floor if she expected me to do any side work that night. She says to me that I need to keep serving and do my side work, and I can't leave until the side work is finished. I reminded her that I must be at the door at 11 p.m. If I'm not, there's a high likelihood my parents will make me quit this job, especially after being attacked by that homeless person. It's just too busy. If I take more tables, there's no way I can do side work. Plus, I just have to hand off those tables to the adult servers anyways, so there's really no point in me taking more tables. Barb blows up at me. She starts screaming loud enough for customers to hear about how kids these days are all a bunch of babies, and how she hates that helicopter parents won't let their kids do real work anymore. After that tirade, she says, "You have work that needs to be done. You need to stay to do it. I don't give a damn what time it is. If you don't like it, you can quit." For some reason, her saying that felt like a smack to the forehead. I don't like this job. There are plenty of other minimum wage jobs I could be doing that would work with my schedule limitations. I'm a teen just doing this job for scratch money, screw her. I reach into my server apron, move all my tips into my pants pocket, I untie the apron and place it on the front counter. Her eyes get huge, and all I remember coming from her was a screech of, What are you doing?" I tell her I'm doing what she said. I don't like it, so I'm quitting. Hear more screeching. She's so loud the entire restaurant can hear her. At that point, I just turn around and walk out, letting the door of the restaurant close and muffle her screeching. I make it home before 11 p.m. Ray calls me the next day to get my side of the story. I explain everything. He says he understands, and he backs me up that she shouldn't have tried to make me stay. He asks if I could at least come in and work the Sunday dinner rush, but I told him I wouldn't set foot in that restaurant if Barb was there. He said that Barb was managing that night, so I chuckled and said, "Well, that's your problem." A week later, I get a phone call from Ray. Over the course of that week, Barb yelled at 2 other teen employees of the restaurant for similar reasons, causing one to quit. She apparently also got into a fight with an adult server because she called that server a druggy bitch, and said she was going to slap the taste out of her mouth. Barb specifically called her that because she knew the server was in recovery for opioid addiction. The final nail in Barb's coffin, 2 customers called to complain that their carry-out pizzas appeared to have cigarette ashes on them. Managers usually worked the register at this store, which meant they also cut in box-to-go orders. Apparently, on less busy nights, Barb would smoke while behind the counter. She was caught on video multiple times in one day with a cigarette hanging out of her mouth as she cut pizzas. Suffice to say, Barb got fired. Ray was calling everyone back that quit to see if they wanted to come back. Me? I declined. I had already found a gravy gig working at an antique mall. I didn't make tips, but I made a better hourly rate, so the money was more consistent. 2. I got my first delivery job when I was 16 years old. I think I had my driver's license for 2 or 3 months. At the time, I was on a travel paintball team, and I hung out at the shop that sponsored us, a lot, almost every day. I would spend my time hanging out in the back room, answering the phone if it rang, working on whatever project was in the shop at the time. Playing PlayStation, PlayStation 1. We played lots of Twisted Metal and NHL 96, and smoking pot. Seemed legit to me, I was still in high school. There was an independent mom-and-pop pizza shop that was 2 doors down from where I was most of the time, so go figure. 16-year-old fat-ass me ate a lot of pizza. I was in the paintball shop one afternoon after school, and the owner from the pizza shop came asking if anyone could drive, because they had just gotten a ruck they couldn't handle with only one driver. I was there, said why the fuck not. I took a single, a double, and then another single. Took me about an hour. I made $15 in tips, and the owner gave me another $5 in cash for the help. This was in 1997, so that $20 was party money for the entire weekend. Gas was under $1 a gallon, cigarettes were less than $2 a pack, and a 12-pack of beer was less than $5. Those were the days. A couple days later, I was at the paintball shop again, and the owner of the pizza shop comes by and asks me how I liked driving the other day. I says it was easy, and I'd do it again, especially considering how much money I made in an hour or so. He said, "Good, you should come down to the store and check the schedule. I have you on 2 shifts next weekend." Sidebar, I have so many stories from just that mom-and-pop shop, my first pizza job. I only worked there for 20 to 24 months. The original owners sold it to a guy who turned it over to his pothead, coked-out most of the time sons, and their buddy who was getting ready to go on trial because he was caught with 500 pounds of Mexican brickweed. Oh yeah, also the paintball shop eventually closed, and in the last year was turned into a medical marijuana dispensary. Seems fitting considering how much grass we burned in the back room there. It's now 2021. I've been in and out of the pizza game for almost 25 years. I was a pro baseball umpire for a decade and delivered in the winter and the weeks it rained too much to play ball. I've also done room service in a Vegas hotel. I applied for the job because I figured it was just glorified pizza delivery. I was right. It was a good way to supplement my meager gambling living. At least I tried to become a professional gambler. Take your shot. Am I wrong? I've been all over the country and seen a lot of things, but the one consistent thing has always been pizza delivery. Every new town there is always a shop that needs help. Mom-and-pop places, never one of the big 3. I couldn't count the times I've seen nudity, sometimes accidentally, sometimes because the customer wanted me to see. I've delivered to B-list network television celebrities, local newscasters who were drunk off their ass with 2 women who I assumed were not his wife, CEO of a Fortune 500 company, members of the U.S. House of Representatives who also ran for president. At least once, maybe twice. I've delivered to the lead singer of one of my all-time favorite bands, and had the most notorious person in America come into my shop and ask questions about our chicken wings. I've also taken room service to Vicki Lawrence. She was a sweetheart and a good tipper. I've done it all in a pizza shop except own my own place. I've literally seen it all. I've been felony stopped by the police because of mistaken identity and partially me being nosy. And I've also gotten out of more than a few tickets. I've taken out mailboxes that I had to replace. I've had to go pick up food from drivers who were in accidents or got arrested or quit mid-delivery. I have literally seen and heard almost it all. Mostly, though, what I love about my time working pizza, besides all the free pies, are all the relationships I've made, both co-workers and the more than occasional customer. I still have close friends from a place I first started working at 99 2000-ish. Friends I still talk to on a regular basis. Friends I've talked to in the last week. 4 of us went to a hockey game together this past season. I've realized I'm getting long-winded here, and if you made it this far, thank you. I guess my rant was just a drunken confession that I love the pizza game, and as long as the money stays good and I'm not replaced by a drone, I'll still be slinging pies. What a long, strange trip it's been. Keep it under 100 while you're out there, be safe. The customer can always wait another 5 minutes. 3. So, about 11 or so, we get a delivery order for 17 medium pizzas that the customer wants around 4. The total after coupons comes out to $105.33. The guy calls back, wanting to add 30 various 20-ounce drinks as well, but he doesn't want to pay an extra delivery fee for what is basically the same order. The kicker is he wants to use another coupon to save on the drinks, but he already used one to get the pizzas half off. So the GM is called over and he approves the drinks to be a carry-out order that will just get taken with the delivery. He figured it's for the local Pawnee State University and their staff places a decent amount of orders, so what's $14? I go through my shift getting stiffed more than usual. I think the total was 7. As the night shift drivers start clocking in, the time delivery of Pawnee is up, and I insist on taking it as I figure it will make up for my shitty day. The order takes up the party bag, one regular bag, a takeout bag for some of the drinks, and a random box to hold the majority of the drinks, plates, and napkins. I call the customer, douchebag Brown, just as I leave to find out what building I'm taking this to, as I sure as fuck will not be walking or driving around campus to find him. He tells me the university center, and he'll make sure he brings help carrying everything in. I tell him I know where that is, and I'll be there in 3 minutes. I pull up to the building, almost to the second, and he walks out with no help, saying he figured I would take longer. I give him the box, as there's no other way of getting everything in one trip otherwise. So I take the rest and follow him in. I place the bags on the table and hand him the receipt to sign as I fully unload the bags onto the table. Then he asks me for the other receipt. I tell him I don't think I brought it, as the delivery one was all he really needed to fill out. He starts talking about how it's university money and how he needs proof of how much he spent. He finds it tucked in the drink box, where I assume one of my coworkers put it in a heads-up move. He hands me the signed delivery slip, as he tells me how much he appreciates all of this. I glance at the slip as I tuck it away. Tip line reads 0. My blood just starts boiling as I quickly grab the bags and make my exit, as I can't find anything professional to say as he continues to heap on hollow platitudes. My coworkers were stunned to the point that my GM tried calling the guy in hopes of a salesman convincing him to leave a tip. Douchebag Brown did not respond, so I clocked out on one of the worst notes possible. 4. I've been working as a delivery guy for about 2 years now. I've accumulated a fair few stories, so I figured it's about time I post some. To that end, here's 3 encounters with dogs I don't think I'll ever forget. I wasn't scared of dogs before this job. I have a Pomeranian I adore and have always loved dogs. But when it's dark and I can't see the dog or only see it being aggressive, I've learned to have a healthy fear of them. I don't have exact dates for these stories, but I'm pretty sure this one was around the start of summer this year. It was late, like 10 p.m., and this street had no lights. Even better, most of the houses were far away from the fences. Half of the porch lights weren't on anyway, but this made the few that were extra useless. As I pull over and double-check my GPS to make sure I'm at the right place, because heaven knows the address isn't visible anywhere day or night, I notice a dog wandering around the road. Whatever. I'm in a short mood at the moment, and just decide to ignore it. Odds are it'll just leave me alone, right? So I get out and walk up to the gate, where a pit bull runs up and starts barking at me. I sigh. I'd left my phone in the car. Rather than go back and grab it, I wait a minute to see if the customer will hear their dog barking like crazy and realize I'm here. As I wait, the dog wandering in the street comes up to my left. It's getting a little too close for comfort, so I keep half an eye on it. As I turn to face it, it starts barking as well, and in the dim light I can see it's some sort of boxer by the muzzle. It's at this point I hear metal clanging and oh god, the pit bull is squeezing through the gate. I back off immediately as it forces its way through, both dogs barking and following me until I've backed up into my car. Not looking away for a second, I stumble in and watch the pit bull squeeze back through the gate. Evidently satisfied, I call the customer and scream at him that his dog is loose. Turns out both dogs were his, and his guests didn't secure the gate properly. Asshole just laughed it off, and if I recall correctly, didn't tip. Second story is more recent, maybe a few weeks ago. There's this lone house on a bend in the road, a funny-looking thing that's like half an icosahedron on stilts. They have a dirt driveway, and even better, it's totally washed out and full of watermelon-sized bumps. steps. To my right, the hill drops steeply as well, so I bounce along to the wooden property fence, which proudly says, "Beware, dogs may be loose." Oh, happy day! I can already hear them barking. So I cautiously continue up the precipitous driveway and park, and all I can hear is barking, no external lights on. I look around for a minute and can't see any dogs loose. Plus it's late, so hopefully they're put away. I see a kennel in my headlights, so I figure it's safe enough. As I open my car door, I hear barking coming from dead ahead of me in the pitch-black garage. Without a second thought, I sit back down and call the customer. As it turns out, there was a dog in there, in its own cage. So at least with this story, there was no actual danger. Oh, and the guy tipped, even if it was a modest amount, like $3 if I recall correctly, so that's nice. The most recent one happened earlier this week, Monday, I think? This time I have to drive onto a long dirt road as my GPS has failed me, only taking me to the end of the paved street. It's daylight at least, so I trundle along looking for the address among these large ranch-style properties. I come up to the place, see the gate is open, and cautiously walk in. I see a man working on hay bales off in the distance, but as I call out to him, he apparently can't hear me. I've walked maybe 10 feet onto the property, and I'm looking between two houses, one larger than the other, wondering which to try first, when 4 dogs come running from around the corner. They're barking as they form a diamond ahead of me, with 2 black dogs that look kind of like German shepherds in shape taking the flanks. I slowly back off again, not turning away from them. The fact that they had stopped, and that the nearest dog was this fluffy-looking thing, were the only reasons I didn't totally panic. Thankfully, after a minute of them barking, the owner came out and called them off, laughing that they were harmless and taking the delivery. I am inclined to believe him, but still, Christ my heart. I swear it's the dogs that are making me look for other work above all else. 5. I'm in the UK. Let me tell you a small anecdote. A few days, maybe weeks ago, time is blurry when you work every day and do nothing else, I locked myself out of my car while it was still running. My car has manual locks on all 4 doors, and you don't need the key to lock the door. After walking and trying to find a public toilet and eventually just finding a private corner of a field, sad how public toilets have fallen out of provenance. It's because of politics, and I can rant about that another time. I just knocked on a random stranger's house because this is really dumb. Both my phones, the company's GPS and my personal one, were also locked inside the car. A wonderfully friendly and blatantly wealthy old guy opens the door. I was delivering to a really nice spot, so I wasn't too anxious about bothering strangers. He invites me in, lets me use his mobile to first call the AA, Accident Recovery. They also unlock your car for you if you do this dumb thing that I did. And then my store, who laugh at me. So I'm probably not in too much trouble, at least. I sit and have a cup of tea with the guy while we wait for the AA to show up. 40-minute wait. And we have a delightful chat. He's the first guy to recognize my accent to a county level, which is nice. Honestly, it was just a lovely time. But yeah, the AA guy shows up, he's happy because the car is on, and at least my windows are electric, so he just pries the top of my door frame open and pushes a button to open the window with a metal rod thing. Then reaches in and hands me the keys. I resolve to never do that again. I've done this once before, not on a delivery, just when driving for leisure, and it was just as frustrating. I was parked getting snacks from a petrol station. Luckily not at a pump or they'd have gotten pissed at me. That time I spiraled a bit with the dread and anxiety of being all, I fucked up, oh my god. But honestly, it's 2021, we live in a civilized world, don't worry about it. Your car could explode and life goes on. Unless you're in it, I guess. Basically, I'm saying get a key holder that attaches to your belt. I got one, and it has proven itself worthy by stopping me locking myself out of my car once already. Instead, I trapped the keys in the door and managed to wiggle them out and use them, since I got it a week ago. Maybe you say be more sensible, but I prefer to solve my problems with money and without changing myself. I've learned it is not likely that I will become more sensible anytime soon. It prevents you leaving your keys in the ignition, which is bad, or in the car with a locked door, which is worse, or dropping them down a sewer grate, etc. It can even stop or at least delay someone reaching into your car and taking your keys if you're in a left-side driving country where your keys are right by the door. Words can't express how nice it is to just pop my keys out of the ignition and not have to worry about them at all after that point. They just zip right to my hip. It's also obviously very stylish. Everyone loves a nerd with a key holder. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Parables from the Pizza Oven, Episode 6. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. If you enjoyed the video, then please do like and subscribe. Alright, no birthday shoutouts today, I don't think. That's fine. Okay, we're all good there. The barking dogs in the background of the dog's story were brought to you courtesy of the neighborhood dogs. They will not be getting paid for the contributions. I'll just not yell at them for a while. Alright, I'm going to keep the rest of the outro a little short for now. I've got another video to record. I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.